Hello, guys and girls. Welcome to episode 103 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also catch the show live in VR and chat with other like-minded VR enthusiasts using a big screen TV. The show normally goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and also it's now available on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Now, of course, it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this guy's fresh back from Gamescom this week, where he's been hard at work preaching VR. It's, of course, Nathy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah. Do I look alive to you?
Yeah, you do. You look just about. Just about.
I had this funny thing with my eye while I was at Gamescom. I had to play VR with one eye. It's very interesting.
But you have experience in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw you, it was like bright red. It's almost like you were the Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was wearing glasses all the time. I hated it because people were looking at me like, oh, this guy just wants to be cool.
Yeah.
But I just had to.
Back in the day when I used to like pull all-nighters with my friends and play at like games like into like the night, and we used to get really red eyes. We used to call it a case of Cyberdyne eye. Obviously from the Terminator.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm glad it's cleared up now and that you're back to life again. But it's been a pretty chaotic week, right?
It's been a crazy week. So first I was in Stockholm to check out some VR stuff. So I traveled to Sweden for 2 days with my mom because I wanted to take my mom with me on a trip to show her what it's like to be a full-time VR content creator. So we went to the ABBA Museum to sing ABBA songs. That's my that's what I do for a living.
That's what you do, yeah. I did that as well.
I know, right?
I did that already.
Oh yes, you did. Yeah.
I went with Viper.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So that was fun. So I could chill a little bit. But of course, it's also work. It's like a mix of both. And then when I came back, I had to pack my stuff to go to Cologne, Germany for Gamescom, like the biggest trade show of the entire planet. It's funny that when I go to the United States, they always talk about E3. Mm-hmm. And when I then mention Gamescom, it's like Gamescom who? But funny enough, Gamescom is way bigger. Yes. But it's also for consumers. Well, E3 is mainly for press. There are like over 350,000 people going to Cologne to celebrate video games. It's crazy. Seriously, if you are a developer or publisher, that's the place where you sell games, where you sell hardware. They, stand in lines for hours upon hours. It's mental. It's like a zombie wave, a zombie heart, getting into that building, and they want to just, play all the games.
Yeah, it's true. Like the crowds there are insane.
Yes.
Insane. But glad to hear that you made it back in one piece and that your eyes cleared up. Thank God for that.
Oh, yeah.
You can dive straight back into VR again.
True.
Next up, this guy is part man, part machine, all rowdy. It's the rowdy guy. How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm doing all right. A little bit sweaty, but for the rest, I'm doing fine. Yeah.
You're doing better now, anyway.
Yeah, doing better now. Jeez.
Now that the show isn't on fire anymore.
Exactly.
But thankfully we got it all sorted thanks to Rowdy. So he fixed it, put the flames out, and now we're back on track. So I hope everything's okay. Let us know in the chat if everything's going all right. Zim sadly won't be joining us this week. He's celebrating his 10th wedding anniversary this week, so congratulations to him and his wife Karen. Hope if you're listening to the show that you're enjoying a nice break away together. So yeah, he'll be back next week as always. If you don't know who I am, I'm Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a packed show for you today. Some of the highlights include what we did at Gamescom this week and some of our favorite games and experiences we tried at the show. We're going to be talking about the cat Loco, another interesting take on locomotion methods in VR. Nathan's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, we're going to give our thoughts on Insomniac Games being acquired by Sony and what this means for Stormland and future VR titles from the Insomniac team.
Ooh.
But of course, let's find out what everyone's been playing this week and their highlight of the week this week. And feel free to join in the chat as well. We can read out some of your suggestions, but maybe we'll pass this over to Rowdy first to see what he's been up to.
Yeah, I jumped back into Pavlov this week. I tried, they had like an arena mode, and I don't know if you've seen it, there was like a new update, but they added like a ton of gore to the game, like an insane amount of gore. Like you have like hands flying everywhere and like feet, and you see skulls and spines and everything coming out there. It's kind of horrific. Like they're going from like one end all the way to the other. You can turn it off though, so if that's not really your kind of thing, you can just turn it off. That's not really an issue. But I dove in there with Chris, and we just had we tried like the different game modes that they had, like Pavlov TTT. They had we played some of the regular, but they also had like an arena mode, which allows you to like kind of like go like, well, we did 1v1, but you can do it with like multiple player as well. And what you have there basically is that you can like pick a weapon, or you can both pick the same weapon, or you can go to, and then you get thrown into like a random map. And in that random map, you just need to like kill each other, and last man standing wins, which is a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I thought the dev for Pavlov was kind of stopping development on the PC version to focus on Quest because he was getting a lot of like feedback, and apparently got quite angry about that for some reason. I don't know if you're aware of that sort of drama going on.
No, I haven't seen any of that.
Apparently he did get upset about the PC sort of player base and sort of said that he wasn't going to develop for it anymore. But it seems like he's obviously gone back on that and is releasing more updates for the game. So it's good to hear. It
seems like the impression I get sometimes is that he's not. I'm not really entirely sure that's true, but that he's not really such a big fan of like all of the game modes that are being added to it. So maybe that is the issue, but it is just it makes the game even better. I mean, the original Pavlov, I really enjoyed. I really like that. I used to play a lot like Counter-Strike and those kind of things, so I think that this is the one that is still like the closest to that. Very fast pace. It does require like some skill, so I do like that. A lot of different pistols, a lot of different rifles. It's one of the games that I think I load the most. Just when I want to have some fun.
So this new gore mode and the arena mode, are they community made modes, or
I don't know actually? Well, the gore mode is an official update. It's an official update released by Pavlov. The arena mode, I don't know. They also added a different weapon, like this like thing that goes through everything. Basically, it's like this huge like sniper rifle thing. I don't know anything about weapons. Like Chris was laughing at me yesterday really hard when I didn't know the difference between like the different calibers, but he's American and I'm not, and that is why.
Yeah. All we know is that it's got a safe end and a dangerous end.
Yeah, exactly.
And to stay away from the dangerous end.
That's all we know, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, good to hear that you're having fun in Pavlov. What about the chat? Have they got any good suggestions, things they played this week?
Yes, so we have Dave the Psycho, who played a Raccoon Lagoon and Super Hot. Then we have Joshua, who did some work in Tilt Brush and Gravity Sketch, but also did a bunch of Arbus VR. Well, you can play that for the upcoming 10 years and still level up, I guess. And then we have Diamond Studio, who dove into Gun Club VR on the Oculus Quest. Watto UK, one of our loyal listeners and watchers, he played Gorn and No Man's Sky in VR. How is No Man's Sky doing in terms of performance? Does anyone know?
Yeah, they recently dropped a patch actually this week, and apparently it gives you like 15 to 20% performance headroom. So things are looking a little bit better now. It was actually the developers of H3, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, Anton, that made the suggestion via Twitter. And basically it was like an issue with the output on your monitor. It was sort of using the full output instead of like cutting the eyes out. So all the stuff on the edges that you don't even see in the headset was being rendered. So now that they've cut those out and it's just a stencil of the eyes, you get this performance.
I actually like talking about it because I was wondering, why don't they like add like an option to just turn off the monitor at all, that you don't see anything? Because like there are VR games out doing there that you can just like turn off the monitor, because a lot of people who just want to play VR, they don't look at the monitors. Only when you're a content creator. But even I don't use the monitor because I use the OBS, the Oculus tools in order to record. So even I don't really use the monitor. So it would be nice if VR developers would actually start integrating like an option to turn it fully off, or like some custom controls of it.
Yeah, because that could probably save you like 5 to 10%, I'd imagine.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, it's kind of it's interesting with No Man's Sky because it's one of those games that I just keep want to go back to. I want to just play more and more and more. And it's one of those games that you can just play forever, I think. So I think it's always going to be installed on my system. I'm just going to keep dipping in and out of it. Super intrigued now that I've got like a hyperdrive installed so I can warp to different sort of systems and stuff. But I'm really getting into it. So it's the one game that I keep on going back to right now. But of course, Nathan and I played like so much stuff this week. It's unreal. So many games.
I do have to say, it took you a while to get into No Man's Sky. Like the tutorial that usually takes you 20 minutes took you like, I don't know, almost an hour. Yeah. But it's a fun game after you get more and more into it.
I'm still not entirely sure like where the tutorial ends and where it like exactly begins.
That's true.
Because
I think
for me it was like hard from the beginning. Like
I think it ends. Well, I don't know where it officially ends, but for me it felt like it ended after I landed on the first planet. So yeah,
but then you still need to do the base building. You still need to do the warp drive,
hyperdrive. Yeah,
that is true. But just a quick tip: if you are not really into survival, you can also play creative and just have like unlimited resources and build as much as you want. So it's nice that there are 2 modes for everyone. Plus, play it with friends. Alone is very lonely. We have a few more people that also played stuff. We have Paradise DK, who played The Tower 2. I'm gonna say the first one was so funny. It's so intense because it's like this. It's almost like Temple Runner, but then in VR. It's really cool. He also played Westworld. Just came out of nowhere, right? Super. It felt random. Although when I met Servios at Gamescom, they said that HBO was the one that pulled the trigger on when they wanted to launch. So it does make sense. And I think they want to build up the hype a little bit for the next season. So that would be season 3 as far as I know.
I believe so. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
He also played Pinball FX on Quest. I think that one also just came out. And then Neil played Hellblade on the Go. So I think he must have streamed it.
Must be.
And he also played No Man's Sky on the Quest and Red Matter on the Quest. So that already gives away that he used some tools to do that. Hellblade is beautiful. If you love third-person VR, it's amazing. I even saw someone cosplaying the main protagonist of
Senua. Yeah.
I was like, wow, awesome. Hey, that's great. Last but not least, we have Onikase, who played Time Stall. Also just came out. Shout out to that game, super fun. And also T for God.
Nice. Yeah, like I did play a little bit of the Tower 2 earlier on today because, like you, I really enjoyed the first one. The ending with the cannonballs was just hilarious.
Yes. Oh God, yeah.
This one has a very different vibe to it. It's very futuristic cyberpunk.
A bit too, like, the thing is, the new game is a bit too serious. I felt like the first one was just, they had no idea what they were really going for.
Exactly.
And that makes it so, it's a bit too, like, polished. That sounds weird, right? But it's true.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it's lost some of the magic from it, from what I played so far, but I've only played like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, maybe I will do another playthrough again, because it is kind of fun finally getting to the end, and I'm sure some crazy things are going to happen on the way. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. A lot of people have been playing Westworld because I also played like 5 minutes of that just to see what it looks like, and graphically it looks beautiful. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and play that some more. I did get into the TV show, the first season, not so much the second season. Didn't watch any of that, but I did like what I saw. I thought the concept was really nice. I never watched the original movie. I don't know about you guys. Did you get into Westworld?
First season. After that, I was kind of done with it. I mean, the ending of the first season I really liked. Not going to spoil anything, obviously, but it wasn't enough for me to like stay like hooked for the second season, I guess.
Yeah.
Since like the time span in between was fairly long, so yeah, kind of dropped off the radar for me.
Yeah, definitely going to go and give that a go this week. But obviously, of course, me and Nathan, we played like so many games again. games. We're going to be talking about those games later on in the show. It's going to be our main topic, our highlights from Gamescom. We'll choose 3 games each to talk about there. So we'll talk more about that then. So let's just jump straight into the news then. And the first bit of news this week is about a fellow VR content creator. Those of you out there may know him already. He's called Josh Dub. He's an awesome dude. He's kind of been in a little circle of our friends from the very beginning. And he hit an important milestone this week, being the first VR-only channel on YouTube to hit 1 million subscribers, which is an amazing accomplishment.
Insane.
So,
It's crazy.
Absolutely insane.
Congratulations to him.
If you see, like, I think we all got into contact with him when he had, like, like 100 or 200 subscribers. And to think, like, the enormous amount of subs that he has now, this is just mental. And well-deserved, because, I mean, the amount of work and effort he puts in there, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. VR entertainment is so booming. I like when I'm on Facebook or on Twitter, I see his videos coming by so many times. Like, Unilet is featuring them, and people seem to enjoy them on all platforms. Where usually a VR YouTuber, gets most of his, views from, let's say, YouTube.
Yeah.
Josh Dub gets it everywhere, even on TikTok, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
On
TikTok is
he's
also
like,
this.
like 700,000 already or something?
It's unbelievable.
It's
It's
mental.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I heard that he was getting a lot of views on TikTok. That's friggin' hilarious.
So if you want to be a VR YouTuber or like a VR content creator, go on TikTok.
and he's such a down-to-earth guy. Like,
Yeah.
if you meet him, like, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, Australian dude, if you didn't know. But yeah, check out his hilarious Let's Plays. He does them with other YouTubers as well, like people like Mully, who is also on the rise right now, Rekid, and the narrator. So if you want a good laugh, go and check out his YouTube channel called, of course, Josh Dub. But like you said, Nathan, I think this is great for getting the awareness out there for VR and getting people excited for VR as well. So congrats once again to Josh Dub, and keep up the good work. So that is the first bit of news. Next bit of news this week is about a new VR product on Kickstarter. Now, a lot of you enjoyed the Kickstarter project that we talked about last week, Weightless VR. So we thought we'd talk about another one this week. Now, this one is made by KatVR. Now, you may not recognize the name because they also make the Catwalk and the Catwalk Mini, which are omnidirectional treadmills designed for VR locomotion. So I was pretty excited about treadmills in VR before I actually got to try one. Because after I tried one, I was like, yeah, I'm not really convinced of this.
Which one did you try?
So I tried the Omni, which is another big, treadmill brand in the VR space. But have you guys tried a treadmill?
I've never been that interested in them. That's the thing. Like for me, it's been mostly like, cause I mean, I still think that the Omni might be the best one because it tries to simulate real motion, but at the same time, like real motion doesn't involve you sliding over a slippery surface. So it's such a difficult thing. I've had the chance to try them, but it was usually a queue, and I'm not good at queuing, so I never bothered because I kind of know that it won't be my thing.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't try the one where you have to put the shoes on, like the Omni and the Catwalk, and then there are a few more. But there was this one at, I think it was Oculus Connect last year.
Yeah.
I forgot the name, but it's like this Ready Player One machine, basically.
That was called the Infinideck.
Yeah, that one. But that's a total different ball game, of course. Like the Omni and the Catwalk are, well, they're not even prosumer. It's even above that. But like the problem with these things is usually they are very hard to get into and even control. And shipping them is so expensive. That's why the Omni never really took off, or at least got to people, because they couldn't even get it into a box,
Yeah,
you see them at arcades sometimes, but like the treadmills, the first generation treadmills are they are not good. They're just not good.
And the thing that because I just watched the video as well, like what I again have a problem with is that they're trying to map like joystick controls to whatever mechanism that they have developed, and I still don't think that is the right way forward, because those joysticks controls, they're made for like thumbsticks and joysticks, that's what they're for. But like if you want to see good motion kind of features, then I would still go to to Nimsonian to see what he is doing with those kind of things, because all of that feels still more natural than like using any of those treadmills to me.
Yeah. So you're talking about like engine-based options rather than physical hardware-based options. Yeah. Okay, but I think you're right, Rowdy, because like when I tried the Omni, it was like to give you an idea of what it's like to use an Omni. If you basically had socks on like a really polished wooden floor, and you were sliding your feet around, that's exactly what it feels like. But the floor is like a bowl. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels completely unnatural.
So someone in the chat is I love to talk about this every time, is mentioning the rocket shoes again.
Rocket shoes.
I still want those rocket shoes.
Yeah, that was an Adam Savage thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where you bought a survival kit, but you got some rocket shoes. That was such a weird campaign.
Shoes, but you actually got the survival kit, right?
Yeah, it was a really strange Kickstarter campaign. I don't know if it was successful in the end. I can't even remember now.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my rocket shoes. So
yeah, but basically, KatVR. Go on, Rowdy. Sorry.
What I wanted to say was that, like, I do applaud them again for like trying to do something with locomotion, but it's so hard still. It's so new. I don't feel like the technology is really at a point that it's like consumer ready. I do like to see progress, of course. So I hope that like these kind of projects keep getting funded and keep getting, popping up, because I do think it's important. It's one of those big hurdles that we still need to get over in order to get like to that true immersion. But at the moment, I still think that we're best off working with like software implemented motion settings.
Right, because this is a different sort of system. You're probably showing the video already, but it's made by KatVR and it's called Cat Loco, and basically it uses these 3 small like puck-sized sensors. One attaches to your waist and the other 2 attached to your ankles. And with these 3 sensors attached, if you sort of walk on the spot and simulate the sort of movement of walking on the spot, that will be replicated in game. You can also sidestep for strafing. You can step back for moving backwards, and if you're tired and you don't want to move your feet anymore, you can simply put your heel sort of forward to activate sort of cruise control, and then you'll just move forward.
It's like a Healy in VR.
Exactly. But apparently, because you're actually moving, it's reported to assist with motion sickness. So, if you do suffer from motion sickness, maybe something like this might help without having to invest all that money into a big, bulky treadmill that's going to take up all your space. Yeah. But what do you think about this as a locomotion method, with these sensors?
I think they hit the nail on the head by saying like, it will help you with like motion sickness. Indeed, people who are prone to motion sickness might have a benefit from this, but I think for everyone else, it's not an ideal method of doing locomotion. I don't think so. Right.
Because apparently this kit, it boasts low sort of 20 milliseconds latency to your PC using a Bluetooth connection. Apparently it's got 10-hour battery life and is compatible with all PC VR headsets and also PSVR, which is kind of interesting. Although they're saying that with the PSVR, you'll need an additional adapter for it to work.
Okay. 20 milliseconds? I mean, that is not that low. I mean, it's low for Bluetooth, but for like... Wouldn't it be better to use like a different system, I would say, then, in order to...
On one side, like imagine you play a shooter and you always need to, use your controllers to move around. If that's thumbsticks, touchpads, whatever, then you still need to, do 2 things at the same time. You shoot with the triggers and then you also walk. But imagine doing it with your feet and it becomes natural and you don't think about it anymore. Then you can focus more on shooting. So like maybe esports wise, okay, if the delay is better, then that could maybe be in your advantage.
Like I do think it's interesting. I don't want to dismiss it straight away because I do agree that like a lot of these products that we see are very gimmicky. They tend to try and ride on the back of like the VR industry, like people that are generally interested in VR have a bit more money to spend and they're investing in new technology. People seem to take advantage of that a little bit. So I'm a bit wary of these kind of products, but I would like to try this one out. I think it does look a bit unique and it kind of separates itself from the crowd a little bit.
It's like I said before, it's something new, like, and I like that, like, that's the way that we need to go forward. We need to try out different things and then see what works and what doesn't, and then we try to come to an ultimate method. I think that's the best way to do it.
On the other side, like 3D rudders, cyber shoes, the VR Go, etc., they are a very good solution for people that are disabled in a way. So it can still be useful for a small group.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm more than happy with that sort of use case. But for the average gamer, I'm not quite sure. But if you are interested in this right now, you kind of missed the boat a little bit because the Kickstarter campaign has already ended and was successful. They were able to get 182,000 US dollars in funding, so it surpassed their initial goal of $50,000.
Okay.
The
I
early
do
bird
think
price,
that Kickstarter is an ideal platform for this because it allows them to like make a product that will probably not get funded in like just general industry settings. So I do think that Kickstarter is a great way.
The VR industry was born again on Kickstarter, so it kind of makes sense. But the early bird price for this kit is relatively cheap, really. Is 119 US dollars, which I thought was pretty good. So you can expect a retail price of around 150 to 200 bucks when it eventually hits retail. Apparently, these are going to be shipped out to backers by the end of the year. So if you did back it, let us know in the chat. I'd love to know your thoughts around it and as to why you decided to go with this system. But like I said, I think it's kind of interesting. I'd love to try it out. So we'll have to see where this one goes. But I think the cool thing about this system as well is, especially if you're into VR chat, it can be used to track your legs as well. So you don't have to use additional Vive trackers for your leg tracking.
Wait, you mean your little knuckle legs?
Yeah, especially if you want to be like Kermit the Frog and you want to like wave your little legs around. Yeah, you can do that. So that is the Cat Loco, a successful Kickstarter campaign that was successful a couple of months back actually, but it's just kind of one of those things that popped up on my radar recently. I completely missed this one.
Okay.
So that is that. Next bit of news, you want to get super hyped for this, is some surprising news that I heard this week, and that is that we're going to get a new Matrix movie, and it's going to star Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, who played, of course, the legendary Neo and Trinity from the original movies. So freaking cool.
But where's Morpheus?
Well, that is a very good question. No one's mentioned anything about Lawrence Fishburne making a comeback yet, although, he was one of the few that made it at the end.
Well,
so
you did audition, right, for the Matrix 4?
Exactly, yeah.
With your video, you have a video on your channel where...
That's true, actually. That's true. I got a trailer, actually, where I did a Matrix spin-off, where I asked people to choose the red or the blue pill. It's very true. Go and check it out on my channel. It's hilarious.
Like, I think they should hire you.
I think you're right.
Instead of Morpheus, have Mike.
Exactly.
That would work.
Mikeus. It's the new Morpheus. Exactly.
I like
But apparently, Lana Wachowski will be at the helm to write and direct the new movie, which will be produced by Warner Brothers Pictures and Village Roadshow Pictures. Lana, along with Lily Wachowski, wrote and directed the original movies. It doesn't look like Lily's making a return on this one. It's going to be Lana on her own. But she said, many of the ideas Lily and I explored 20 years ago about our reality are even more relevant now. I'm very happy to have these characters back in my life and grateful for another chance to work with my brilliant friends. So can you believe it, right? That the original Matrix movie came out 20 years ago?
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
No way. So that's...
We also maybe shouldn't forget that like the later movies, like the sequels, weren't all too great. Right?
That's true. That is true.
CGI-wise, you mean?
No,
just generally story-wise, I think they were a bit weak. They were called Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
Yeah.
But yeah, were you even born when the Matrix came out, Nathan?
I'm 25. But I do get like when I watched Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I was like, wait, is that Mr. Anderson?
Oh wow, yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's weird. That's weird.
It's true.
I'm super excited though.
True.
Yeah, same here.
Although, will it be like will it continue the story or will it be something?
Yeah, apparently it's going to continue the story. It's not going to be a reboot, apparently, from what we know so far.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember seeing this movie in the cinema when it first came out with a friend of mine. It just completely blew my mind. Instantly became my favorite movie. Yeah. And it kind of started this whole bullet time thing. With that scene where it rotates around him. Games like Max Payne basically built their game mechanic based on this game, and it's been adopted in so many other games since then. But yeah, you're totally right though. I love the original movie and I love the Animatrix series. I don't know if you guys remember those. It's kind of like a series of short stories, animated ones.
Again?
Animatrix.
Animatrix, yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the other two movies were kind of a bit meh.
So if there's a new movie coming out, that means there will also be a VR experience.
Well, it's a very good point that you made there, because this is what I was going to say. Can you imagine if they made a Matrix tie-in VR experience game, it would work so well. Like if you actually had to like jack yourself into the Matrix, it would be so freaking cool.
There was this demo on Oculus Share where you stepped into the room with Morpheus, and then he was just sitting there talking to you, and then you got sucked into the TV and you went into the rabbit hole. Was kind of nice, but hopefully they will make something new. Besides that, I think that would be a great opportunity. I just hope that they will do something better than what they did with Ready Player One, with the Oasis, because that was a wasted opportunity. It started off in an exciting way, then in the end they just completely screw up the whole license they had, and I don't want to see that happen again, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but it would be the perfect movie to do a VR tie-in.
Yeah, totally,
absolutely.
Definitely.
It inspired the generation of people that rebirthed VR, the industry. So it would make sense for that.
According to the chat, I should be Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Then you are, of course, Mike, aka Morpheus, and then we have Rowdy being
Neo.
Who I then?
Neo. Yeah, he should be Neo.
He's like the good-looking one, he looks. If he had longer hair, he could maybe pull off a younger Keanu Reeves.
And Zim. What about Zim?
He can be Trinity. He can get a wig on him.
Okay, fair enough.
He's got the body for it,
That is true. Yeah.
He can pull off some spandex. We know that.
Yeah.
So the movie is set to begin production next year. So maybe expect it late 2020 or maybe 2021. So that's some exciting news about The Matrix. Yes. Next bit of news, the final bit of news this week, is some great news from our friends over at Vertical Robot, the developers that made Red Matter. They tweeted out this week that Red Matter on Oculus Quest surpassed the total Oculus Rift sales of the game in just 3 days. Like, that is freaking incredible. Like, I'm so happy for them, because we've always said on the show that, Red Matter was a hidden gem of a game on Rift. And I'm just so pleased that it's doing well on Quest for them.
Yeah, but because it was like hidden back then, like on the store, and then like all of a sudden it started popping up, and people started discovering it, and then it finally got like the recognition that it deserved. It's it's epic, awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know, having spoken to the team, that they worked so hard on this port. They worked basically for a whole year on this, almost like 8 months to a year. And they had to like rebuild the game practically from scratch. It wasn't just a case of like porting it over. They basically had to rebuild everything. And that's how they were able to optimize it so well and incorporate some of the amazing lighting effects that they did in the game as well. Because it's the best looking Quest game right now so far.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. That is Red Matter. So hopefully next month, OC6, Oculus Connect 6, we'll learn some official sales numbers in terms of how many Quests have sold to date and the impact that that's had on game sales like this as, for Red Matter. Because it's amazing to think that within 3 days they managed to blow their, the complete sales of Rift out the water. It's incredible. So I'm sure other developers have similar stories as well. So hopefully we'll get some of those from OC6, which you can share with you as well.
Just more headsets out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to know how many they've sold. Like, my prediction was around 300,000, but maybe it could be even more than that.
Yeah.
But like I said, maybe we'll know for sure next month. So, that's a little sort of wrap up of the news this week. We're going to pass it over to Nathie for the releases that you should look forward to next week. And then we're going to get into some of our main topics. So stick around for that.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, the stats guy, for all the news. Now, we're going to move on to some juicy video games. Are you ready? Because there will be some stuff coming out that you might like or may not like. It depends on what you're looking for, of course. So the first release that will happen at, a very, very soon date, August 27, is Until You Fall, on Rift only for now, right? And Mike played it, as far as I know. It's a melee game mainly, and on their description on their page it says that they are all about melee and magic fuse in this visually stunning VR sword fighting game that delivers a satisfying combat experience where you are the master of your own martial style.
Yeah,
nice.
I really enjoyed this game. Like, I had so much fun with it. I think the art style is perfectly suited for VR, like this colorful, bright, vibrant, sort of almost cel-shaded looking art style. But the gameplay is just super solid as well. Like it really takes a little while to learn the enemy attack patterns and when to sort of strike back, and then you sort of work your way through these levels, which are procedurally generated, by the way. Like the enemy patterns and the environments are procedural, although there's not much to choose from in terms of assets right now, although the devs are working on that. And then if you die, you get sent right back to the beginning again. So it's kind of brutal in that sense. You only have 3 lives and you can get killed very easily. But what you do get permanent is the ether that you collect. So throughout your playthrough, you collect ether, which is your in-game currency. And then you can use that to upgrade your weapons to become stronger and more powerful. And then things do get easier and easier as you progress. But I got to the first boss. He like completely kicked my ass like the first time. And then, the second time I managed to get through him, but then it was a whole new set of enemies again, and they kicked my ass and then sent me back to the beginning again. So I haven't played it since, but I think the game is super solid, and I think they'll get a solid fan base for this one.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the developer goes from, water bears, and I Expect You to Die, and a few others, to a total different genre. I like that when studios go for, other territories and not always stick with the same thing.
Mix it up a bit.
Keeps creativity going in a way, I think, especially at the studio. Yeah. So in the chat, Onike said that we should not forget about Vanishing Realms, its expansion that released yesterday. I'm not so updated about it. I do remember that, getting announced. There is apparently an expansion. Is that free to... No, you need to buy it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of the community are upset about this, because they backed it as an early access game, and now they're being told that they have to pay extra to unlock the content. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. If you back something early access, the expectation is that you're helping the developers out, and that the full content will be unlocked later on.
Yeah, okay.
But apparently that's not the case with this game.
Is it still in early access?
No, apparently it's releasing out of early access with this big update, but you have to pay for it. I think that's why if you look on Steam right now, it's getting a lot of negative reviews. But I think overall, like, the game is pretty solid, although I haven't played it. But from what I've read, it's pretty solid.
Well, that's a classic. It's classic. Although if it has been already out of early access, then the developer has all the rights to charge for it. I think. Don't get mad at me now, please.
Haters.
Haters. So next up we have Acron, Attack of the Squirrels. This is a quest title coming out on August 29th. And they said with a big caps lock, warning, this is a highly addictive VR game. It must be played with at least 2 other people who join the game on mobile devices. Do you have what it takes to protect the golden acorns in this new multiplayer party game from Resolution Games? Or are you feeling a little squirrely? What the heck? This is a couch game, local. And you can play it with, I think, up to
8.
Yeah, 8 people. Wow. So the idea is that you have a big tree. This person is in VR who plays the tree, and then the tree has to defend its acorns, and then the players on mobile need to attack the tree all the time. Yep. And you can use all kinds of tricks to get there, Yeah. I played it myself. I think Mike also played it. They were showing it off at Gamescom. It's so much fun. It's a really fun title.
Yeah. Although we're not allowed to talk anymore about it. Basically, everything we told you is out there already, but they're actually embargoed until the 29th, which I thought was a shame, because I wanted to talk about this game on my VR roundup, from Gamescom, but sadly couldn't.
But the trailer gives everything away. Yeah, like you can see what it's all about, and I don't think there is more that needs to be revealed.
Yeah.
I do from the trailer, like it looks a little bit like it's aimed at like a younger generation, I would say.
I think it's just one of those like family games. You get the family around. You've got one VR headset. Everyone's got a mobile phone, so that's the kind of what they're banking on is this kind of local multiplayer fun title.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, it's fun. Yeah. So next up we have Hotel and R. I'm not sure. Is that how it's?
Oh, I
think
Yeah,
remember that
so
one.
it's short for hotel, like rest and recovery. R&R is the rest and recovery.
I see. Very smart. So on their page, they said that you are playing as a failed musician who makes a deal with, well, me, the devil. Ooh. I give you it's like a first person description here, so it sounds kind of weird, but it says that I give you musical talent, infamy, and hard cash, and all you have to do is smash up some hotel rooms for me. Build up your armory with weapons from hell's own pawn shop. Oh, and don't let the maid in.
Don't let the maid in. Yeah.
I do like, just to kind of, talk about Steam descriptions and Oculus description and PlayStation. I do think it's very important. I've seen so many games that have these very silly or boring, descriptions. I'm like, I don't feel excited about playing this game, right? But some are so creative, and it makes you read more, and it makes you curious for more. And I think, this one, for example, it's original.
Yeah, this one looks absolutely mental. Especially if you look at the trailer, it's like way over the top. Like
smashing things, yeah, smashing things never gets old in VR. I feel like, especially after you had a Garnhop subscription for a while.
But yeah, this is basically like a Rockstar simulator, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah. So that's about it.
Cool.
Those are all the releases. Oh yeah, there's one more. One more. Yeah, Mike, sorry. I almost forgot. Thank you for, warning me. So I gotta disappoint you all, but Espire 1 has been delayed.
Yes.
And I know it hurts, but I met the team at E3, and they want the best for their game, and they want you to have the most fun. So I'm happy that they have the balls to delay it, because it's not easy to do that as a developer, because you gotta disappoint everyone, and it also adds some pressure maybe to the crunch time already that you have. But it's cool that Tripwire, the publisher, gave them the space to do that, because there are also other publishers that are seeing their devs as slaves, and it's like, oh, time's up, release, let's go, and then you have this shitty game coming out. So it's fine. And as I already mentioned at, I think, 2 podcasts ago, I already had a funny feeling that the Quest version at least would see a later date. I felt like the PC one was quite solid, but yeah, it's their baby, and I'm sure it will be going up.
Sometimes it's good that they delay things.
Oh yeah,
sometimes it is.
Yeah, and like having played
it's a luxury.
The game, it's got so much potential. I really enjoyed my little playthrough of the game. It's got a lot of replayability as well, with like little VR missions, timed ones. So yeah, it was always going to be a complicated game to port to Quest, because it is quite complex in its mechanics, and also visually it's very impressive looking as well. So I always thought that the Quest version was going to be a bit of a hard work. But when I met the devs at Gamescom, they also told me that it was going to be delayed. But they're delaying it till they're just saying till the end of the year. So it will be out this year. But yeah, like you say, it was a very optimistic goal to be out in August, I think.
Yeah, well, releasing in August or like in the Christmas period is not a bad thing. So someone also says in the chat, Grambo, sell no wine before it's time.
Yeah, exactly. And this one is worth waiting for, I think, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, let's jump into some of our main topics then. And the first topic this week is about Insomniac Games. Now, this is kind of like the biggest news of this week. Insomniac Games, if you don't know who they are, they've made some quality VR titles over the years, including Edge of Nowhere, which I think we all enjoyed that game. It was kind of one of those games that came out before the touch controllers came out. So it was one of the real rare gems that you played with an Xbox controller, third-person game, actually. Then they made The Unspoken, which again was like quite hot in the competitive VR scene. And then you've got the highly anticipated upcoming title, which is of course Stormland, one of the biggest upcoming VR games coming soon. They also made some excellent pancake games as well, like the new Spider-Man on PS4, Ratchet and Clank, and the Resistance series. I don't know if any of you guys played those games as well.
No, not that one.
But all of the VR games that they produced are Oculus exclusive titles, because it would appear that Oculus fund a lot of these games. So it was surprising to see an announcement this week from Insomniac via Twitter stating that they'll be joining Sony PlayStation's worldwide studios. So in a blog post on their website, this is what they sort of said about the acquisition. We've collaborated with Sony for more than 20 years, spanning all 4 PlayStation consoles, 20 total games, and 6 franchises. The decision to join forces with Sony extends far beyond familiarity. Our studio vision is to create experiences that have a positive and lasting impact on people's lives. As we look ahead to our future, we know that joining the WWS family gives us the best opportunities to fully achieve that vision on a much larger scale. So, this basically means, for those that don't know, that all Insomniac titles moving forward will be exclusive to PlayStation. Now, obviously, the biggest concern right now is that will this affect Stormland? And I think that's probably unlikely at this point, because Stormland has been in development for over 2 years now, I think. Yeah. Oculus funded this title. So yes. I still think it's gonna be released, on PC on Oculus.
It's probably from this time moving forward.
Exactly.
It will be something like that, I assume.
The real question is, who owns the IP of Stormland?
It's a very good question. And something we don't know for sure, because we know that obviously, we think it's likely that Stormland will release on Rift as planned, hopefully by the end of the year. Fingers crossed, we'll find out for sure next month. But now that it's been acquired, Insomniac has been acquired by Sony, it could be likely that Stormland also then gets released on PSVR as well. I really don't know.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
Although
because they have a contract with Oculus.
Yeah, they do. So that's one of the main. So they made the Unspoken too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that after a while, the service will stop, where they don't patch it anymore, and it will just. I do think those kind of things are going to happen, where listen, this is it, we're done. This is good news for PlayStation VR, for sure. This is it's not completely bad news for Oculus, since they have many more studios, and it's not they went away with a fight or anything. But it must hurt for sure, because Insomniac, I feel was one of the in 2016 one of the major developers to make the Rift at least successful or known by a more mainstream audience. And I do feel at this moment, looking at the Rift as its launch, they really needed Insomniac. Yeah. And now they have been acquired by Sony. So yeah,
looking at the bigger picture, it's just going to be like you say, all the future titles, VR titles, Pancake titles, are going to be exclusive to PlayStation. Like you say, I think it's great for Sony, and I'm excited to see that their games will get a bigger audience, likely on PlayStation as well, because we know that the PSVR is the number one selling system right now. So I think it's a smart move for them. But it's just one of those things, we have to deal with exclusives as gamers across the board, whether it be Xbox, PlayStation, Oculus, it's just the way of the world right now,
That's true, yeah. The only title I will not miss from Insomniac Games is Feral Rights.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those ones.
That was the worst VR title they have ever made.
Yeah, it didn't do particularly well.
And then I remember on the Oculus subreddit, people were so angry about it. Was one of the first times where a game was just, it sucked.
Really bad, yeah.
And then people said, I want my money back. And I think they then gave them these gift cards to spend it on other stuff. So
yeah,
that was a very interesting launch. But Edge of Nowhere, it's still one of my favorites. And that's what I say, who owns the IP? If I can play an Edge of Nowhere 2, I don't think that will ever happen because it wasn't popular enough. But let's say it could happen. Would it then be on PlayStation VR, or would it then be Oculus owns it, so they can decide if they want to make more?
Yeah, I would love to know more about the nuts and bolts of the deal, but of course that's going to be super secret for a long time to come.
It was a big this was like the big topic also at Gamescom. I heard so many studios talk about this. Like, I know a few people who work at Insomniac, or I heard these. So there's so many like rumors and things like what's gonna happen to the office, because Insomniac is everywhere and things start to shift around. It's cool to hear it from behind the scenes. But yeah, I do hope Oculus will look around for some more studios to work together with. I did see Jason Rubin say we're gonna surprise you with more.
Yeah.
But it's more doesn't mean anything until I see names on paper and I see trailers and I see demos. Because Defector was also this one game that Jason Rubin said that was going to be super awesome, and then it comes out and it's not that great. So I would first like to play and then decide if it's really that amazing.
But maybe Sony and Oculus can work together in a way, because this is kind of interesting. I found this doing some research today, because in a recent interview with Kotaku, Jason Rubin, who's like the VP of Special Gaming Initiatives at Oculus, he said that he would be up for the idea of trading some IPs with Sony. And I don't know really if logistically that's even possible, but the concept of it he was kind of open for. And this is what he said in this interview. He said, we've thought about it. I would love to make a trade with Sony. They have some great stuff that they funded, and we have some great stuff that we funded. So, they could maybe swap some IPs over. It kind of got me thinking, like, what IPs would I like to see on either system? And certainly, Blood and Truth being like, my game of the year so far. I'd love to see that on Rift alongside Astrobot, because, they're like super solid titles on PSVR. But I'm sure, PSVR owners would love to see some amazing Rift games as well.
I also want to have their aim controller coming to, the PC platform. Although Sony is getting more and more into the PC market as well. For example, like Groundhog Day is from Sony Pictures. And it's not just for PlayStation VR. It's also for Vive, it's also for Rift. So they do make. It would be nice if Oculus would, but Oculus is an exclusive platform, so I don't think they would ever make games for all the platforms. But the other way around, you do see Sony doing that now.
Although Sony Pictures games tend to be absolute trash though, because they also made Ghostbusters. They also made like the Spider-Man experiences. So
they do, but like they do get better. We do see them leveling up. Like Groundhog Day is a full game, and Ghostbusters and Spider-Man, and I think they also did Jumanji, as far as I know.
Probably.
Those were experiences. Like the Groundhog Day, I think, is the first game ever that it's like, I think they told me it was like 5 to 6 hours of gameplay. So that's not just hey, I'm Spider-Man. Oh, Spider-Man 10 minutes later. Oh, come to the cinema to be Spider-Man. So it's gonna be different.
I do wonder if Spider-Man is going to join the Marvel universe or not. Trading IPs, I don't know if they're open to that.
Yeah. So that is Insomniac being bought by Sony. Big sort of move for them, but obviously puts in question some of their content for VR in other places in the future. But I don't think we need to worry about Stormland, so don't worry about that just yet. Hopefully we'll get hands-on time with Stormland again when we go to OC6 next month. And please, fingers crossed, we get a release date, which is before the end of the year.
Sorry, but I'm done with these hands-ons. They should just launch it now. Like every time it's like, hey, you can play it. I'm like, yeah, I already played it, but just give us a launch date. Rift S needs freaking games. Like Asgard's Wrath 2. Like, what are they waiting for? By now, we should actually hear about more titles after Stormland.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the case with the Respawn title. They'll be teasing us with that. I don't think that'll be releasing imminently. But, just like Espire 1, if these games need more time in the oven, I'd rather wait and have a good game rather than something that I feel like is rushed. Like Defector, I felt like the end of that game was rushed. So
it was.
As difficult as it is, I'm happy to wait, especially for Stormland, because I think that game is going to be, well, I hope is going to be everything we want it to be. I really love the demo that I played, put it that way. So that is that. So let's get into the games we did play this week at Gamescom. My God, what a crazy week. You were there. You were there all week, Nathan. Like, I don't know how you managed that, because I only managed 24 hours in Cologne, and I had enough. And I was like, "See you later. I'm out of here," because it was nuts. Like you say, 350,000 people is no freaking joke. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm happy to be on a train home." So how was it for you being there all week?
It was amazing. I like for a few years I've been to Gamescom now, and first I was always super serious about it, no time to waste, meet a lot of developers, meet a lot of publishers, investors, play games, etc. And there was no time to rest. Well, this one was quite chill, because after a while, a lot of developers and a lot of people, and it's like, I played this game before. I went to E3, by the way, so a lot of what was at Gamescom I already checked out. So, I went for a more casual approach this time. I just, went on a scavenger hunt because they have a lot of indie games there, and there are always like these hidden gems or new developers that come on the market that want to sell their game or are trying to make it in the game industry. So I was more like looking around and see like, hey, what's new, what's going to happen, and also talk to a lot of consumers who own a Quest or own a Valve Index or whatever headset, and see like, hey, are you using your headset a lot, or what are you playing, or what do you think about what you can get in terms of content at the moment. Really trying to see what the status is within the VR industry, how well it's going at the moment, because always being in this VR bubble is not the best. And when you're at Gamescom, then you can really see people who never tried VR and they just come out of their first demo. There was this one woman who played Beat Saber, and she was screaming like crazy because she, like, the first time you see an object coming at you, you're like, oh my days, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I guess so. Imagine my first time I got a train in my face and I thought I was about to die. Or when I played Doom, where this monster came to the elevator and I fell on my my butt. So I mean,
yeah. But yeah, I think it was a great show. I think it was a bit disappointing this year that we didn't see a bigger presence from Oculus. Or HTC or PSVR, of course. They were killing it on the show floor, but of course we'll talk about that later. But in terms of Oculus, their presence at the event was within the Facebook gaming area, and they had these really tiny little double booths that were playing Beat Saber on the Quest, but that was it. And when you think about the scale of Gamescom for what they showed there, it didn't feel right. Last year they had this huge Oculus presence. It was like a big part of the show. They were showing a bunch of different games, and it just seems a shame because obviously the Quest is such an important headset in the VR industry right now. It's really helping push the sort of knowledge and awareness of VR forward, that to not show that at Gamescom seemed like a real big missed opportunity for them.
And in the United States, the Quest is well known within a certain range of people. Well, Europe, marketing wise, always gets left behind, and then you have Gamescom, this huge ass event.
Yeah.
And then the only thing they had was they had a Facebook booth, and you could play Beat Saber in these two rooms. But there were no windows, so from the outside people couldn't see that there was VR. And also weird was they had this contest where you had to do Fortnite dances, you had to play VR and do a few other things. They had different tasks that you had to complete, and you had a paper with points on there, and the person with the highest score, like at Beat Saber, at the Fortnite dances, could win a prize. So Rowdy, guess what you could win? It was VR related.
It was VR related. Wait, a headset?
Yes.
You could win a headset.
Yeah.
The Oculus Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rowdy already knew, but so the weird part was you had to get points with the Oculus Quest and play with it, but then in the end
you want to go
win an Oculus Go.
Yeah.
So these people that we also saw at PAX that sometimes don't know the difference between a Rift S, a Quest, or a Go, they're like, oh, I just played Beat Saber on this Quest, and now
That's
I
weird.
can also win, a headset. But then in the end, you gotta
Yeah,
go.
like
So
I
was
reason
like,
they probably give away like the cheapest headset that they have, and they're probably not selling that much now, because I still see the Oculus Quest as like the improved version now of the Oculus Go. So maybe it's just like, I don't know, access stock or something.
I don't know. It's like if this like thing was in America, I don't think they would have given away an Oculus Go. So that you can just see like the gap between the European marketing team and the one in the United States. I don't know, but there was one booth that did it right. Alternate. It's like this web shop where you can buy all kinds of VR stuff. They had 3 areas. They had the Oculus Quest area, and you could play Robo Recall. And the more points you got, the more chance you had to win an actual Oculus Quest. They also had the Vive area where you could play like race simulators and stuff like that, roller coasters, etc. And then they also had the Pimax area. I think they worked together with Pimax there, and they had like these simulators. So that's the way to go. And they also had in the evenings a Beat Saber tournament on a big screen, so people could really see, because at the booth at Facebook, when people play Beat Saber, you couldn't see on a screen what they were playing. They were just doing this.
That's so stupid.
They did add a video up, but they never showed gameplay. So at Alternate, I felt like they did it right. They had Oculus branding everywhere. They had Robo Recall, super fancy. And it was like a big line there, a way bigger line than Facebook had. Yeah. And people like were watching this big screen of someone playing Beat Saber and got so curious. They were like, I need to try this. And that's how you sell VR.
It's strange because if you look at like how Oculus does it at like, OC5 and like the big Facebook events, like it's always like very impressive. I think if you look at like when they work together with like the Onward League and all of those kind of things, it always looks extremely cool. I think so. I find it strange that they apparently don't know how to do it when they go to Europe.
Well, they've done it before. It just seems that they decided not to, and maybe focus more of their attention on like PAX West, which is coming up soon. And
how much
Oculus
effort
Connect.
would it take to make like a green screen setup for a mixed reality Beat Saber?
Of course, and you're totally right. When you show it in a cool way, it sells it way more. Like my little traveling buddy, Gamertag VR, who was on the show last week. He took a picture of that big booth that you're talking about, Nate. Yeah. That, someone playing Beat Saber, and the crowds there were insane. Like you say, like people were so fixated on watching it, because when you watch someone play Beat Saber, it's like almost hypnotic anyway. True. So yeah, I think you're totally right. They missed a trick there, but HTC, also didn't have a presence there where they kind of did last year. They partnered with Arizona Sunshine to play the location-based experience with their new wireless adapter. So they were kind of promoting that in a way. Didn't really see anything from them, nothing at all about the Cosmos. No. So it's kind of like you say, the developers were showing off the hardware rather than the hardware manufacturers were showing off the hardware.
And it makes sense that Alternate nailed it so well, because they are a web shop and they want to sell these headsets. If you try the Quest... but they at least gave away a Quest as well. So I don't know. That was a little funky. I really hope that Oculus will come more to Europe and also other parts of the world, because
it's funny,
for developers it's also important to have their games out there. If you like Time Stall and Red Matter, they just came out. If that was at Gamescom, people could play that. Amazing. It's like good promotion for every dev.
Yeah, agreed.
It is funny that Alternate was there, because I order all of my stuff from them. I always do.
See, it worked. You see, you saw it at Gamescom, and then you bought it.
Exactly.
So let's do. If we wanted to talk about every game and experience we tried at the show, I think we'd be here all night. So let's kind of keep it like a bit short and concise, and maybe talk about our top 3 games and experiences. And we'll maybe like take it in turns, see if there's any sort of crossover in that. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, so before we go into that section, maybe you should talk in short about the first time we had an actual VR showcase, like a booth with all the games together. Because I can tell you, if you go to Gamescom and you want to play VR, then VR is everywhere. So you have to go to the indie area, and then suddenly there's like this tiny little booth. You're like, oh yeah, that's also VR. And then you go to a bigger hall, and then behind the Nintendo booth, there's like this little, VR stand. So VR is usually all spread around, and there is no place where you can just, check it all out. And this was the first time where they had an island of all kinds of VR devs together, where you could just play a few games without having to look for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was called the VR Game Showcase, and it was basically organized by Andreas Juliusson from Fast Travel Games, who made Apex Construct, and also have their new game in the works, which we'll talk about shortly. But they partnered with Perp Games, who are a publisher of VR titles. A lot of PSVR titles they publish here in the UK.
Hard copies.
Yeah, hard copies. But they also like basically did a round robin, like sent the details out to all these like VR developers like Cortopia, Carbon Studios, Neat Corporation. All these devs managed to get them all together, Servios, and managed to secure this spot where they're all in the same place. So basically, as a content creator or press, you had like almost like a 3-hour window, and you played every single game back to back, one after another, and you could interview the developers, capture gameplay. It was just so well organized.
Yes.
Like I haven't seen anything like that so well organized at an event before. Even previous Oculus events that we've been to haven't been that well organized in terms of the display. So yeah, hats off to Andreas and the team at Fast Travel Games for pulling that off. I think now moving forward, like I just want that to be the standard at every VR event now. They really nailed it. They really nailed it.
And all these games you could try were new. They didn't come out yet. And what I heard from Perp Games when I spoke to them about this, they said that some of these devs, they don't have the money to be at Gamescom, and because they do it together, they can just promote their game. And also, since you have bigger studios there and smaller ones, you have VR content creators that would normally maybe not see this indie title because they are looking for the more AAA stuff, are now getting a mix of small, big, medium, whatever. So I think it was like a nice trade for everyone.
Absolutely. Like the developers that I spoke to that were part of the VR showcase were so happy. They thought it was the best thing that they'd done all year in terms of their marketing and PR. So hats off again to the team for putting that together, and hopefully we see another VR showcase at Gamescom next year, and it'll be even bigger.
It's a good start. As you said, it was in a business area, so if you were a consumer, you couldn't try. There were some people angry about that. I totally understand, but this is just the start. And in the end, I hope that there will be this VR village at Gamescom where you have only VR, and I think it's going to happen. We had some big studios this time. Servios was there. Usually the United States doesn't have many developers or studios coming to, Gamescom to showcase. But, Servios was there. Super happy that they were, it was like The Walking Dead that you could play.
Yeah.
And also, was it also Battlewake?
No,
not Battlewake. Yeah. So it's a good start.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and thank you for reminding me to mention that. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the games we played then. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the first one is one that we share together as one of the highlights of our show, and that is a game called Down the Rabbit Hole. Right?
True. Yeah.
So I played this on the Oculus Quest, but the game is also coming to PC and PSVR later this year. Basically, you control a girl who's kind of like accidentally stumbled down a rabbit hole and is sort of populated with the crazy world of Alice in Wonderland, right? So it's got this Alice in Wonderland theming. You meet some of the iconic characters from the story, and basically the game happens around you, like 360. It's so smart. So you stand in the middle of your play space, and it's these tiny little dioramas that are happening in front of you, like a little doll's house. Imagine like peeking into a doll's house. Everything's like really tiny and cute, and you're controlling her around this sort of like area with a little sidekick who's a playing card called 4.5. So he's your sidekick throughout the whole game, apparently. You meet some of the characters from the story, and then you go on this little adventure, solving puzzles and doing a little bit of platforming. But as you're sort of moving to different areas, it's moving to different areas around you, 360. So you could be turning, physically turning in your play space to look around you. Or if you don't have that much room, or you don't want to turn around, you can actually grab these sort of like branches that are stuck in the environment and then manipulate the world around you.
That looks really cool. Like, because it kind of looked like he was like climbing, but it was probably like turning the thing around. Like, it looks really awesome.
Exactly. And the developers were saying that the levels that you basically uncover, they never unload. So the deeper that you go down the rabbit hole, and we say this like phrase all the time, like deep down the rabbit hole, like Matrix. You can continue to look up and see where you started, even the further down you go.
Yeah, you can see the start and the end in one playthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's such a smart level design that I really enjoyed it, and the puzzles as well. Like they were actually legit hard. Like I struggled, and I really love puzzle games in VR. I struggled with some of these, so it was promising to me that I was gonna have like a challenging time with the game, and ultimately it would be more rewarding once I finally solved these puzzles.
Yeah.
But you could swap between these two characters. You could use them to work together to solve puzzles as well. And you've got these kind of story narrative parts of the game where you sort of learn about these other weird, wonderful characters from Alice in Wonderland. So yeah, I thought it was super nice, and I didn't expect it. This was from Cortopia Studios. They made Ones.
Yeah, Once, yeah.
Previously, so this is a bit of a move from them. But really impressed with this title. So what did you think about this one, Nathie?
I appreciate a unique concept, something different, because it's very easy to, go for another escape room, make another shooter, make maybe another rhythm game that looks weirdly enough the same like Beat Saber. So this was different. I don't think everyone is going to love this. It's not going to sell big time, but I like it when a developer aims for art and wants to add something new to virtual reality, and this is one of those examples.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and actually that is why I chose these three, because they weren't a zombie shooter. I'm not knocking The Walking Dead or After the Fall, but we've seen the genre a lot, so I really wanted to highlight that these games that, like you say, do something different or are brave enough to try something different,
And Once in itself is already actually a very great title. Like they've probably got some solid experience of like what they can and can't do in virtual reality. So I think that is a great title as well.
Yeah, so that is Down the Rabbit Hole. Like I said, it's coming to Quest, PC and PSVR later this year. If you like puzzle games and like sort of like controlling characters and little dioramas, you'll enjoy this one, I think. So definitely one to keep an eye on.
I also want to say that if you do not own an Oculus Quest and you have a Go, then Lila's Tale is a good alternative. It's like the same deal.
Yeah, no, you're right. So the next game, do you want to do another one? Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, I can do
another one. Go for the next one. You go for the next one.
So this was a shared one.
Sure.
And so for me, the highlight was Iron Man in VR. I could finally check it out after seeing all those, juicy gameplay trailers and developer interviews. I played it twice. I was like, I'm just gonna jump back in and have another go. It's super fun. I mean, you play as Tony Stark, and that's just awesome on itself. And Sony has worked together with Marvel on this. And so the demo they had was you, first of all, getting into the suit. You could hear all the loading, and then you saw the mask getting in. And then you have a lot of HUD. I know Rowdy is totally anti HUD.
No. That's not true.
That's not true?
No, I'm not. I'm anti HUD when it's not context wise. Like if it makes sense, then I'm all for it.
In this case, if it would be clean, then you're not Iron Man. It wouldn't feel the same. But I do have to say there was a lot of like information on there, So you boot up in this suit, and then you fly over this beautiful island, and then you fly towards the intro. So he's like, Marvel Presents and Camouflage, who is the developer, and then it's like Iron Man VR. Well, then you have all these funny silly jokes of Tony talking to his assistant. You see his house as well, his mansion, and it's like so stunning. It still blows my mind how well the PlayStation VR pulls things off, in terms of like graphics. And then you can start flying. So you got this tutorial of how to fly. You could use these thrusters on your hands. It's like so cool. You can go backwards and you can go forward, up, down. And at first it's like super clumsy because you're like, okay, so where do I need to put my hands? And I was concerned that with the front facing of the PlayStation, I would not be able to control myself from the back. But in the end, you only need to turn your hands. So if you hold your hands behind you, you can see it in your HUD. So you see your hands where they go to. So you can really hover the way you want and control it that way. And there were so many power-ups you could use. You could use a booster, so you could like really shoot away. And it's like you have this Naruto pose, but then you're Iron Man, right? And it's so satisfying. So you fly like through like little, grottos and stuff.
I was wondering, like, since I'm sure like the mechanic of like being Iron Man is very cool, but is there any like more like meat to it? Because once you get over that, like the novelty of being Iron Man, is there anything more? I mean, you probably only played the demo. But
I only played the demo, but in the demo you could use weapons too, and I have a feeling you can upgrade them or you get more along the way. I could lock like the enemies and then shoot rockets at them. I could also punch them real hard. It was a bit arcadey, but in a fun way.
The thing that I'm wondering is like when would be like the right time that we can expect like a solid title, like something like when you see like what they did with the Spider-Man game, like something that we see like that, like really like a proper title with a storyline, with a where you actually get
it has a storyline. It has a storyline. So there were 2 demos you could play. At the consumer part, there was only this tutorial of you flying and then shooting at some enemies. Then you had to land at Tony Stark's house. But there was another demo where you went into his house. You got to talk to your assistant, maybe mess around. It's a bit like Blood and Truth, where you sometimes have dialogue and then you can just grab stuff and throw around with things. And then you could also defend a plane while it was flying. So there is more to it. There is a story, but yeah, it's a demo. So for now, I can't say if this is gonna be good or not. I do know it's gonna release somewhere around Christmas, but that's about it. But it was super cool to experience for sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
cool.
Like superhero games in VR, they just lend themselves to VR so well because you watch these movies all the time, and of course you always want to be that character. You always want to be the superhero. And Iron Man, like we always wanted to be Iron Man in the Marvel Powers United game, but of course he was never in that game.
No.
So it was a big shame. So it's great that PSVR now you can actually become him. Yeah. And I'm really excited about it as well. Like the idea of flying as him, and like you say, maybe protecting a plane in the sky and shooting out enemies sounds like a lot of fun. But I do understand Rowdy's concern about it being maybe a bit like sort of arcadey. But from what you're saying, like, you can go back to his house and interact with things there, and it's maybe a bit more fleshed out. So fingers crossed for Iron Man VR.
I don't really mind that it's arcadey. I'm just wondering if there's like more like meat to it, except for like just being Iron Man.
Yeah,
that's what
of course.
It's I do think they're gonna switch around between you being Iron Man and you being Tony Stark. But it's definitely a fan service, as many things Marvel does.
Yeah, of course.
Also, that something I want to mention is that when I was at the Sony booth, there was this one guy in a wheelchair, and he was like spastic. I couldn't hold the controllers, but after talking to like the staff there, they found a solution of him playing. So he just had the headset on, and then his friend was holding the controllers, so he was like shooting and flying, and it was really cool to see because being disabled and trying VR can be challenging. Let's say it like that. Of course, we have Special Effect, who makes all kinds of solutions for people that are disabled to let them enjoy video games. But it was nice that Sony doesn't say like, oh, it's not possible. They just take the time, even if there are slots that run out of time, they still do it, and I appreciate that. It's so cool. Like I saw so many people that were in wheelchairs or couldn't walk that well. They could still play it, and they just try anyways, and that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome that the magic of VR can. It doesn't matter who you are or what your capabilities. Anyone can enjoy it, and become that character. So yeah, I'm super excited for Iron Man. Looking forward to playing it. Also, it's made by Camouflage, who made Republic, which is a solid game. Yes. So yeah, I've got a lot of high hopes for that one. So hopefully it can deliver. The next game I want to highlight is The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets. This game is being developed by Fast Travel Games, who hosted the VR game showcase. And this is kind of a bit of a departure of their usual sort of games because they previously made Apex Construct. This game is coming to PC, PSVR, and the Oculus Quest. Started off as kind of like one of the developers there who's really into like animation. He started this as a little side project, brought the concept to the team, and they all loved it so much that they decided to make it a fully fleshed out game. And I'm so glad they did because again, it's very different from like the traditional wave shooters and everything else that's out there at the moment. Because a bit like the previous game, Down the Rabbit Hole, it's got this small little miniature world in front of you. This time, instead of it being wrapped around you in 360, you can actually walk around it in 360 with it being in the middle, or you can just kind of rotate it. But basically, it's super chill to play. You're basically guided by the voice of your grandfather, and together you have to kind of solve this mystery of why all these pets have been stolen and where are they? You got to find them.
Yeah, I really like the puzzles in this game. Like the way that they've constructed that, it looks really nice.
It's super nice. It's so bright and vibrant as well. It kind of reminded me of like Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, which I really enjoyed on the Nintendo Switch. But again, you've got these like cute little worlds, and like say there's a bush there, you can interact with so much stuff in these little worlds that's not part of the main sort of mission or quest. So there's a bush there. I touched the bush, a little puppy popped out. If you touch it again, he jumps out, and then he jumps on the swing, and then you can just push him on the swing. And it sounds like super basic, but it was just so cute, so adorable, and the animation is like spot on because obviously the guy that developed this initially was like he's really into his animation. So it looks amazing. And then you've got hidden coins as alongside the sort of main puzzles that you can find as well. And the missions are to like find all the hidden pets by solving the puzzles and find all the hidden coins as well. So yeah, super charming game, beautiful art style and animation, really relaxing to play. But like I said, it's going to be on everything, PSVR.
Also the music, the music was also fantastic. It's a little fairy tale you're looking at, and you can just walk around it. And I like that when a dev also, introduces room scale once again, where you can just physically walk around it, and you're not playing the standing experience again, where thumbstick locomotion is the main thing to use.
We've said so many times already that audio is so important, especially music in games.
Plus, this game is for young and old, so if you have kids, then this is something to introduce.
Yeah, and again, like you say, it probably won't be for everyone. There's probably a lot of people out there who just want to play Walking Dead. That's fine, but I applaud it for being a little bit different. The only thing I would say. Oh, go on.
We have a fun fact from because Fast Travel Games in the chat as well, and they said the fun info for some. The music is from Winter Garden, which is the creator of Marble Machine, and that is included in the game. And if you've never heard of it, be sure to Google Marble Machine.
That Marble Machine, isn't that guy who just puts all those marbles in there and then makes sounds and it goes on forever? Isn't that like the marble? Is that the Marble Man, or is it like a marble
I don't know
game?
it. I don't know the Marble Machine.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Cool fact. The only thing that concerned me about playing this game was I thought the first level was a bit too simple. Like I say, I like puzzle games in VR, so it felt very easy to play through it. I think I played through it very, very quickly. So hopefully the difficulty ramps up later on in the game. But that's my only criticism, really. Other than that, I really love this one.
Mike, you're just too smart.
Too smart. Morpheus. Smart. Mike, yes.
They're just lucky that I haven't tried to play them.
So yeah, that's one of my highlights, and so we'll kick it back to Nathy for one of his.
So my last one is once again Beat Saber with their 180 mode. So the head of marketing was there of Beat Games.
Don't you mean 360 mode?
360 mode, yeah, but I call it 180 mode because right now of what I played, it's more 180. It's not really 360. You don't completely turn around.
Oh, okay.
They call it 360. There's like this fight between me and Right. But yeah, officially they call it 360. And I do think that's going to happen in the near future. But for now, it's more of like, a certain angle you go for.
Right.
But what the Beat Saber team did is they organized a meetup at Gamescom where the community could come together. And it was quite busy. There were around like 50 people there. It's amazing to see players there also pro players that are, high in the rankings, modders and just casual gamers. It was so much fun, and they gave away t-shirts from Beat Saber, stickers. They were just there to talk to the community and listen to the feedback, things like that, and also of course to play this 360 mode. So there was like this line. It was funny, the line was longer than the other line that Facebook had, because they did it, like the meetup at the Facebook booth. So
Right.
these two Beat Saber pods they had were like suddenly a little, abandoned, because whoa, there's like this new mode. People were like looking because they were like just, not in a booth anymore. And as I said, that's important with VR. People need to see it, and suddenly it catch the eye of not just only this meetup, but also just people walking by and like, hey, what's going on here? And they just brought gifts too. They had like these plushies of like the Beat Saber cubes with these cute faces on there, and also signs with like Beat Saber community on there with the QR code to their Discord. It was like, really, really cool to see. And it was the first meetup ever.
Wow.
Nice.
I think the only level, am I right in saying, is Imagine Dragons right now?
Yeah, two. They're like two songs, but in the end, it's like the same kind of thing. So yeah, you constantly like the notes change, and you need to move with them, and you have like these bright white lines that kind of point you in the right direction.
Right.
But it's nice that with the Quest, the team of Beat Saber can just take it with them and show it to people.
Yeah,
so if
exactly.
you ever see them at an event, ask them and say like, hey, can I maybe try? And they can show it to you.
Yeah, we don't have any indication of when this 360 mode is going to be launched, right?
Well, I have a scoop, but I can't share it yet.
Oh, the
Soon,
deeds.
next week you will know, and then I will also tell you on the podcast when. Well, I don't have a certain date, but I do have a certain time.
Okay, so next week we'll know more.
Yeah, then we have the juicy,
next
juicy
week.
moment.
There you go, scoop for you next week. Make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I know. Right?
So my last one that I want to highlight is FReality VR. This is something that I've seen at events before. People that go to that are in the VR scene that I follow on Twitter that go to all these VR events. Every now and again, a FReality machine will be there, and they post pictures of them going on it. And I've been super jelly, and I've wanted to try it ever since I saw it.
You
And
had
so
to
when
have that picture too.
Yeah, so when I saw it at Gamescom, because it wasn't there last year, I was really happy, and jumped in line and got to give it a go. And it's funny because like people around it, they were looking at this machine like it was something from the future, like a time machine, and they were like kind of scared of it. Like they weren't quite sure if they wanted to try it or not, because obviously a lot of people were worried that they're going to feel sick by trying something like this. But I just jumped on it straight away. I was so excited. It's only one of these experiences really you can try an event or at an arcade. But basically, it's like a flying machine, to describe it to the audio listeners.
Oh, I'm showing it as well.
Oh, you're showing it as well. So it's like a machine that you lie down on horizontally, and then you've got these like arm bits that you can actually flap like a pair of wings. So they're strapped to your hands to a certain degree, and then you've got a Vive on. They were using the original Vive, and they have this big, huge fan at the front of it that kind of blows wind in your face depending on the speed you're going in game. And the experience that I was playing was like a Jurassic one. So you're like a pterodactyl almost, and you can basically flap your wings to fly around. And you had this like beautiful environment below you, like with a river and trees and mountains and big dinosaurs. So you're basically like flying through Jurassic Park. And it was just so beautiful and just amazing to be able to get that sensation of flying. And because you're fully in control of it, you can kind of do some crazy stuff. So obviously being a bit of a VR veteran, I was trying to test myself a little bit. So I was going really high and then like dive bombing really, really low to the water, and then like kind of pulling up and then flapping really hard and then flying back into the air again.
So does the fan itself, like, does it like change in speed, like when you when you go down?
Yeah, I could feel the wind in my beard. It was beautiful. So then like I
like
was
being a bird?
Flying straight back into the sky, and then if you like rotate your hands, you can like bank. Yeah. So I was like banking and doing little circles and soaring around, and it was just super nice. I just loved it. It was really short. I think it was about like 3-4 minutes. But I was like, as soon as I got off, I was like, I want to go on this again. And I want to try all the other experiences that they do, because they do one that's like you can fly around New York, like New York City. You can do one underwater where you're actually like a stingray, like a manta ray with big flappy wings. And you can check out like the coral reefs and stuff, which sounded really cool as well. So yeah, that was like the kind of Birdly is something that I've always wanted to do. Always like when I've seen it.
Would you buy one?
Of course not. No.
Would you
Of
buy
course-
one?
Of course
Buy
not. Like that's the thing. Like it would be so difficult to replicate it at home. But yeah, it was just such a cool experience. So just kind of one of those things that if you're ever at an event or an arcade and they have one of these machines, like just go and give it a go because flying like a bird and that feeling of being free to move
Just
around
make
and
sure
do
that
whatever you want.
nobody records you when you're doing it,
Yeah,
because
that's
Mike is
true, yeah.
gonna have to change his name now to Flappy Mike VR, as
Flappy
the
Mike,
chat is
yeah.
suggesting.
Flappy Bird, yeah. But
Flappy
yeah,
Mike.
it was awesome. It was awesome. I really loved it. So that was kind of my highlight of the show because you can't experience that anywhere else. So that's why I sort of wanted to highlight that one.
Nice.
But of course, we tried loads of other stuff at Gamescom. Stuff we've talked about before on the show, like After the Fall, because, Rowdy, Zim got to try that when they met up with Vertigo Games at Rotterdam at the studios. So we've talked about that previously. And, like Phantom and Espire 1, The Walking Dead. We've talked about these games on other episodes of the show.
Yes.
So, you'll have to go back and listen to those. But that's kind of like our roundup of what we tried at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you've got any questions for us about any of the stuff we played or even any of the stuff we haven't talked about, maybe you've got a question about The Walking Dead or something similar, feel free to ask them now while we wrap up the show and we can finish up with a couple of questions. Apologies for the technical issues we had earlier on the previous stream. Glad that we got it all fixed and up and running because, we didn't want to miss an episode of the show. Like that's the worst case scenario for us. We never want to miss an episode. So thank you for coming back and sticking around if you're watching this live. And I don't know if anyone's going to be watching this in big screen now that the event got taken down. But if you are, you're a real MVP. And so just a reminder while we wait for some questions to come in, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also catch the show live in VR in big screen TV. The show normally goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Or you can check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and on Spotify.
Oh yeah, and also leave a like on this stream.
Yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed it or if you learned something new. That would really help us out for sure.
Or if you just come here for the memes of Mike flying, then that's fine too.
Exactly.
Should I put that up again?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Oh, you're showing
one
my
more
video?
time.
Are you showing my video?
Yeah, go,
oh,
come on.
right. I see.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. This majestic person
It's
flying.
like an eagle. I'm like a bald eagle.
Yeah, you're like the American eagle.
Yeah, exactly. Super fun. Don't know how you managed to last a week at Gamescom though. Like seriously, I was like done by
If
24 hours.
if I was using those simulators you would be using, then I would not hang out for that long. But
yeah, maybe.
So yeah, looking at the chat, we have Delawong saying, "At least Mike is aerodynamic."
That's true. That's true. The hair doesn't slow me down. It's like one of those wind tunnels.
Bounces
like
off.
You see those cars? Yeah, exactly.
Then someone else is asking, "You guys still having issues with performance on No Man's Sky?"
No, it's been patched just recently. They've recently pushed a performance patch. Basically, previously on the output screen, when you played No Man's Sky, it was 2 squares side by side. And basically, Anton, the developer of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, posted on Twitter about this, saying that there's basically optimization to be done here, that you can save some headroom. Obviously, the people at Hello Games picked up on this, and now that stencil of the eyes has been cut out, and the rest that is on the outskirts that you don't even see in the headset,
It's just less rendering.
has been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So now you get like about sort of 10 to 20% performance increase with the updated patch on PC. So things are getting better. I still think it's one of the best games available right now in VR because it's definitely the one that I keep on going back to. Jumping in, moving a little bit further forward. Recently got a hyperdrive on my ship. Super hyped about that.
I recently purchased a 2080 Ti just for that particular title. Yeah.
Wow. And that just goes to show, people are so hyped for this game. To invest a lot of money in new hardware to make sure they can play it properly is a testament to that game for sure.
Yeah, it's no secret that this one needs a beefy computer. It's not for the the Intel Core potatoes out there. And then we have. See, this was also quite interesting. Lost in Translation wants to know if we use super sampling on the Oculus Quest. I'm just using the default resolution. I don't see a reason to do that, but you can.
No.
You can if you want, but
you can, and it's something you could do on the go as well. I know a lot of people were tweaking with the Go, increasing the resolution as well on the go. But to be honest, a bit like Nathy, like I don't want to mess around with it because I just want it to be a smooth experience. Like for me, I'd rather have a consistent frame rate than a slightly better resolution. So I don't tend to mess with those kind of things unless on PC, and then I tend to monitor the frame rate using like FPS VR or something similar, and then I can slowly dial it up or down to make sure I'm getting a consistent frame rate across the game.
And then we have someone asking, hey Mike, any first impressions on the new VR cover for Quest for the back?
Good question. I've got it here right now. It basically is a cushion that you can see. I've got some Bluetooth adapter as well on the back there, but it's basically a cushion that straps to the back of the strap. So you've got more cushioning on the back there, so it's a little bit more comfortable. Is it essential? I wouldn't say it's as essential as the front cover, but it is a nice little upgrade. It grips your head more, so you don't get any of that sliding around, which you can do sometimes with the Quest because it's very front heavy. So yeah, I would say it's good. Not as essential as the front VR cover, which I think is a must-buy in my opinion. Yeah. Also worth mentioning is that VR cover recently sent me a new reduced size faceplate and new reduced sized face pad. Personally, I didn't like the new reduced size face pad because it lets in light leak, which was a problem with the original Oculus Quest foam that comes with it. So that's why I prefer the ones that they sent out previously.
Interesting. So talking about faceplates, when I was at Gamescom, I tried bHaptics, their new face cover with the haptics in there. They have been improved, and they are not, hard on your face anymore because you could feel the electronics, right? That's not the case anymore.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, I briefly met up with bHaptics as well. They said they are working on something right now for the Quest. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be exciting.
So someone says no news on Vive Cosmos, guys. I do know for a fact this week that they were sharing another image of their controllers that we have seen before, saying that they were. But I don't know.
They said something like, we have a really interesting story about the controllers, and then didn't share the story. It's like, okay, brilliant. Thanks for that.
They just keep on teasing us. They need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
They're not teasing us. They just don't know how to do marketing. That's what it comes down to.
It's a real shame. But hopefully, we never know. It could just be amazing out the gate. So I'll wait to sort of bear judgment. But their marketing campaign could have been way, way better for sure.
And it seems like people did watch it from big screen because Dr. Cat said, I'm chatting this from big screen.
Hey, nice one. I'm glad to see that it worked and the sort of the channel was still live because we had a few technical issues at the beginning of the show. So thank you for sticking around and trying it in big screen TV. It seems to be super successful in big screen TV, so it seems like something we're going to continue doing at least for the very foreseeable future. So thank you for letting us know.
It's funny that I sometimes get these notifications. Hey, are you interested in this event? I'm like, well, the thing is, I'm actually in this event myself.
You I don't need to watch myself. I am unavailable at that time.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So, thank you for joining us live. We've had an interesting show doing our roundup of all the stuff we tried at Gamescom. We talked about Sony buying out Insomniac Games, Red Matter's sales on the Quest, the new Matrix movie, and, of course, the cat Loco. So thank you for joining us this week. Zim will be back next week as well. And of course, we can get that scoop from Nathy about the Beat Saber 360. So stay tuned for that. Have a great week in VR. Until then, bye-bye for now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.